Can I take the leftovers for my daughter? A single mother's plea that silenced a diner full of bikers. The neon sign outside Maggie's diner flickered weakly in the October rain, casting a soft pink glow over the wet asphalt. Inside, the air was thick with the smell of coffee, bacon grease, and cigarette smoke long since banned, but somehow still clinging to the walls. It was a Thursday evening in the sleepy town of Cedar Ridge, population 3,200, where everyone knew your name, your business, and sometimes your shame. At a corner booth near the jukebox sat a group of bikers from the Iron Vultures MC, leather vests, tattoos, and scowls that could curdle milk. They'd rolled into town for a rally, loud, rowdy, and used to being treated like outlaws. The waitress, Doris, kept her distance, refilling their coffees with a wary smile. Then the door chimed. A young woman stepped in, soaked from the rain, clutching the hand of a tiny girl in a sweater 2 sizes too big. Her name was Lena, 24, single mother, worked double shifts at the laundromat just to keep the lights on. Tonight, she'd walked 3 miles in the downpour because the bus stopped running at 7 p.m., and her daughter, Lily, hadn't eaten since lunch. Lena approached the counter, her voice barely above a whisper. Could I get a grilled cheese and maybe a small cup of applesauce for my daughter?" Doris nodded, already knowing Lena's story. "Coming right up, honey." While they waited, Lily sat quietly, eyes wide, watching the bikers laugh and slap the table. One of them, Bear they called him, was especially loud. 6'4", beard like steel wool, arms like tree trunks. He caught Lily staring and gave her a wink. She ducked behind her mother's leg. When the food came, Lena paid with crumpled bills and loose change, counting every penny twice. She split the grilled cheese in half, giving the bigger portion to Lily, who ate it with careful, grateful bites. Lena picked at her half, her stomach growling, but she didn't care, as long as Lily was fed. Then came the moment that would change everything. The bikers finished their meal, plates stacked high with half-eaten fries, untouched onion rings, and a full slice of apple pie Bear hadn't touched because sweets ain't his thing. As Doris cleared their table, Lena stood, wringing her hands. "Excuse me," she said, voice trembling. "I know it's not proper, but could I take the leftovers? For my daughter. She loves pie." The diner fell silent. Even the clatter of dishes stopped. All eyes turned to Lena, dripping wet, exhausted, standing there with the dignity of someone who had nothing left to lose but her pride. Bear slowly turned his head. His eyes, dark and unreadable, locked onto hers. The other bikers shifted uncomfortably. Someone coughed. Lena's cheeks burned. She whispered, "I'm sorry," already stepping back. "Forget I asked." But before she could turn away, Bear stood. The floorboards groaned under his weight. He walked over, not with menace, but with something softer, something almost reverent. Without a word, he picked up his untouched slice of pie, then gathered the fries and onion rings from his brother's plates. "Here," he said, his voice rough but gentle. He placed the food carefully into a to-go container Doris had silently handed him. Then he reached into his vest pocket and pulled out a folded $20 bill. "For next time," he said, and pressed it into Lena's palm. "And don't you ever be ashamed to ask." Lena stared at the money, tears welling in her eyes. I can't take this." "You can," Bear said firmly, "and you will." Then, to everyone's astonishment, he knelt, this mountain of a man, down to Lily's level. "Hey, little one," he rumbled, his voice suddenly warm. "You take good care of your mama, you hear?" Lily nodded shyly, clutching her mother's leg. Bear stood, nodded once to Lena, and walked back to his table. The other bikers, stunned into silence, watched him go. One by one, they reached into their pockets and placed money on the counter. Tens, fives, even a few singles. Doris quietly added them to an envelope and handed it to Lena. No one spoke, not out of discomfort, but out of awe. Because in that moment something shifted. The hardened biker, feared by townsfolk and cops alike, had shown more compassion in 30 seconds than most people show in a lifetime. And the single mother, worn thin by life's relentless grind, had reminded them all that dignity isn't about what you have, it's about what you're willing to do for someone you love. As Lena and Lily left the diner, pie in hand and tears on their cheeks, Bear watched them go from the window. Doris later said she saw him wipe his eyes with the back of his hand. The story spread through Cedar Ridge like wildfire. Within a week, the Iron Vulture's MC organized a food drive for local families in need. They even started a fund for single parents, named Lily's Light. Years later, when Lily turned 10, she wrote Bear a letter. "Thank you for seeing us," she wrote. "You didn't just give us food, you gave us hope." And Bear? He still carries that letter in his vest, right over his heart. Sometimes the toughest souls are the ones with the softest centers, and sometimes all it takes is one humble plea, "Can I take the leftovers from my daughter?" to remind us that kindness is never wasted, and that even in the hardest places, love finds a way. If you believe in kindness and second chance, please like, share, and subscribe to ACA Storytales for more emotional stories. Your support helps us spread hope to millions. Thanks for watching.